Good morning. We're calling this meeting to order. This is Amador County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning, and thank you. The board met in closed session this morning. The items we met on were item 1, conference with labor negotiators, update and direction was given. Item 2A, confidential minutes were approved, and then we had the closed session addendum, which was item 3A, and this was a claim of Megan Seeley, and direction on that was given to staff. Moving on, Supervisor Axe is still on vacation. And at this time, we have public matters not on the agenda. Does any members of the public like to address the board on any item that's not on the agenda? And if you desire to do so, please state your name for the record and sign in. Dave, you're first. Good morning.
Dave Shepard, Amador County Airport Manager. Got a couple items I'd like to let you know about. We just held our annual Swift aircraft fly-in this past weekend. They've been coming to Amador County Airport since 1985. We had 31 Swifts and a Cessna and a Cirrus for a total of 33 aircraft. About 6 couples had to drive in because of weather and mechanical issues as well, so we had 80 people there all weekend long. In the past, this event has brought somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $100,000 in revenue to the local community with hotels, rental cars, restaurants, and things like that. So another great event. We really had a good time. Second item I have is Saturday between 9 and 3 is our annual Wings and Wheels at Westover. We're celebrating 95 years of aviation in Amador County. It will be a car show, show and shine, airplanes, CAL FIRE, CHP, our fire district, sheriff department, and whoever else we can get out there. I'd like to thank Supervisor Brown and Axe for printing up the flyers that have been posted around the county. That was very helpful. And Frank, I thank you personally for getting me in touch with a couple of the vendors that have contacted. So we're gonna have Augie's Doggies for food, and the candy lady, Frank?
Tasty Treats.
Tasty's Treats is going to also be there, so it'll be a good turnout. I'd like to invite everybody to come up and hope to see you there.
I know my kids and wife and I went a couple times in the past, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're hoping to make it start this year and keep growing. Is our plan. So, thank you.
I'll try to make it on one side or the other. I got a celebration of life now for somebody from 11 to 1.
Okay.
Right in the middle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Lois sleep in today? Okay. Okay.
Morning, Chris.
I was wondering about Lois myself. She's okay, all right. Oh.
Thank you. Good morning, board. Chris Strong from Ione. Here to talk about the election coming up. And most Amador residents that I know, they do not trust these election machines. Whether or not that's founded or not, is another issue, but the fact of the matter is the appearance of them not working is very real to people, and it's really unacceptable. I know the elections department works really hard, and the board, you guys, the board, work really hard, and you take pride in doing the best job you can for our elections. And but so I have a suggestion, because I know that there's a lot of pretty, in my opinion, there are tyrannical laws from the state of California that we can't do a hand-counted election like we did for 100 or more years. We have to use these machines. The machines are from consultants out of state. Parts are made from other countries like China. These machines have been used in other countries. And so, picking up on the third paragraph here, corrupt countries all over the world have used voting machines to steal elections. Anything digital can be manipulated or hacked. Corrupt cases, or court cases, such as Curling versus Raffensperger in Georgia, have shown live in court that these machines can be manipulated and intentionally changed to change the election results. It's been done in court. This was the Minion machine. I know we use ES and S, but there's similar operating systems, so it's relevant. The potential to manipulate is exactly why manual tallies were legislated along with the machines in Election Code 15360, which I've given you in your packet, which requires a 1% manual tally or a two-part public manual tally. And this is done in our county, and they work really hard to do the best job they can. A manual tally is the obvious recourse to any potential computer or technical difficulties or malfunctions. Who knows if we have a blackout or some kind of emergency event. We know there's a lot of drama and polarization over this election, so we should have the fallback recourse to do hand-counted countings anyway. And that's actually in the election law as well, that it can be used as a backup in case of emergency. That's a full manual recount. But for this case, in compliance with section 15360, Amador County performs manual tallies, and recent tallies performed in 2020 revealed discrepancies between machine results and hand-counted results. I'm told it was just because it says on the hand-counting side that there was a mix-up, but the machines were found to not have any discrepancies, but I'd like to see the explanation of that. And those letters, those 1% tallies are also in your packet there. But here's my suggestion. Upon review of California Election Code section 15360, it is clear that the tally of 1% is not the maximum proportion of ballots to be reviewed. It doesn't say you can't go over 1%. It just says you have to meet 1%. In fact, the two-part manual tally says that you must go above 1%. So I recommend that the same manual tally process that we're doing, according to law, be extended. Now we have 20 days of time before certification is required now because of all this mail-in stuff. So you've got this extended period of time, and I've talked to people in the elections department. They say it wouldn't take too much longer to go from 1% to 25% or to 50%. They just do the same process. It takes a few more days, and I've got 50 or 100 people willing to volunteer for this because people really care about this. And so I basically, to save time, the manual tally could be limited to only the presidential race if you want, but you can obviously do it to any race that you desire. You guys have the discrepancy to do this. This move will greatly appease the people of Amador and begin to restore trust in our elections. So I request you guys to consult your legal side and consider this suggestion and even include it on a future consent calendar for the meeting to talk about this. It won't take extra money. It's already lawful process, and it would greatly alleviate the distrust that's in our people, because people are starting to lose it. If they don't trust their elections, then we just don't want things to go out of control, obviously. So I think it'd be very prudent and wise to do this.
I think one thing I would comment on, I don't think it's that people don't trust election personnel in Amador County.
Yes.
Necessarily the machines. I think he should probably make that clear.
No, that's why I said an opening state. You guys work hard, and you guys are, I mean, yeah, this is the machines. So for you guys to do the manual tally, that's because we trust our county results on the manual tally. We just don't trust the machines.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you'd consider that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
I think it's something, we could probably talk to council about it and talk to election to see, what kind of burden it'd be and how the board feels about it. But I think it's something, we can consider. I'm not saying the board will, but we can look at it.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it shouldn't be extra money, shouldn't be that much extra time, and it would just further restore our trust in the election process, I should say.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I've got an extra copy here of yours if you want it too. Any other members of the public like to comment on any issues? Board members?
Any Zoomers?
Yep, no Zoomers. So we'll move on to approval of the agenda. And we have a closed session addendum also, item 1A. That I'd like to we'll make that item 3 in the closed session.
So,
Which number? 1-8?
1A is addendum, and we'll make that item 3A on closed session.
okay. Move with the addendum?
Second.
We have a motion by Brown, second by Forrester. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous, 401. And looking for approval of items on the consent agenda.
Move approval with the change. Second.
The change, no, that was on
Didn't you have a
closed session. That was closed session.
closed session? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, very good.
A motion by Forrester and a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Moving on to item 3, regular agenda. Item 3A is a presentation of resolution recognizing Mr. Terry Sanders, Veteran Services Officer, upon his retirement from Amador County after 13 years of service. And we have a resolution also for Mr. Sanders. And I think first pardon?
Gracie.
Well, Gracie gets it and she might give it to Terry.
And Gracie's on a leash.
So I think,
I've been here before.
You guys have asked me to bring Gracie, and this is my first time bringing her, and she's over here squawking, so hopefully she won't make too much noise. So now,
yeah, she's just checking things out. Well, anyway, we have here a resolution from the Amador County Board of Supervisors. It's Resolution 24-119. It's a resolution recognizing Terry Sanders for his years of service to veterans of Amador County. Whereas in Amador County, the Veteran Service Officer, Terry Sanders, plays a critical role in the veterans advocacy system, often serving as initial contact in the community for veteran services to assist county veterans in obtaining federal and state veterans benefits. And whereas Terry Sanders is responsible for planning and administering countywide programs, he's knowledgeable about all programs, entitlements, and ancillary services as administered by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Department of Defense, CalVet, and other federal, state, and local agencies. And Terry Sanders has hit unprecedented highs in terms of relief secured, over $6.7 million in new VA monies for disabled veterans during his tenure as a County Veteran Service Officer of Amador County for 13 years. And the Veteran Service Department is primarily funded by Amador County General Fund, with additional funding coming from the state in fiscal year 2013, 2014. Terry assisted veterans in filing claims that resulted in additional state funding to Amador County of $13,200, an increase of 62% from the previous fiscal year. Followed up the next year with an additional state funding of $13,600, an increase of 41%. And whereas Terry Sanders has secured over $343,000 in lump sum payments to the family of the deceased veteran for burial, cremation relief, and these tax-free monies that are sent directly to the veteran or family is ultimately spent in Amador County, which directly supports the local economy. And whereas the state of California has a college fee waiver program, which is for dependent children of the service-connected veteran, resulting in over $12 million in college tuition waived to ensure that veterans' children can earn their degree without an overwhelming educational debt. And Terry is able to get many of the county veterans off Medi-Cal and into the VA healthcare system, and secured for them over $34,000 in retroactive pay for the veterans, and saved California millions of dollars. And whereas CalVet audits the claims filed for each county in the state twice every year, in his 13 years and 26 audit cycles, Terry has had 20 no-hit audits, only one hit in the other 6. And whereas Terry's faithful mascot, Gracie, hello there, Gracie.
There she is.
The Yorkshire Terrier, known for irresistible charm and dedication to many people in the community and office staff, will always be remembered as she enjoys retirement life as well. Therefore, be it hereby resolved, Amador County commends Terry Sanders for his 13 years of faithful service to county veterans and their families through the advancement of professionalism within his department and the pursuit of advocacy across levels of government, so that veterans may receive the benefits to which they are entitled by virtue of their military service to our country. And this was passed unanimously by the Board of Supervisors on the 24th day of September 2024. And Terry, before we present this to you, I'll probably take some comments from you and maybe from the public, so.
Well, comments from me are, thank you very much, and I look forward to my retirement. And we are in good hands. Angela has replaced me in her experience, and I think she'll continue the great work that's been started here in Amador County. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We can give them a little round of applause.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Gracie says, thank you, thank you, thank you. Any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? We'll see none. We have one here.
Can I just stay here? He helped me a lot, believe me. He's been my VSO since about 2016, and we've had our ups and downs with the VA, but he helped me get them all straightened out. So everything that he's done well.
And just for the record, what was your name, sir? That's all I know.
Jerry Powers, I live in Pine Hill.
Jerry Powell?
Gary Powell.
Gary Powers. So Mr. Gary Powers would like to thank Mr. Sanders for his help.
Before Pan and Gold with Bob Reeder.
Oh, yeah, that's a while back. I remember that.
Been a while back.
Well, at this time, we'll come down and present the resolution, maybe get you a
Need to vote
picture
on
for
it, sir?
We better vote on it.
Second.
Yes, a second.
some.
Just,
And-
Terry, I don't want to insult you, but I don't know who I'm going to miss more, you or Gracie.
You can say Gracie, it's okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I appreciate your work in the veterans, because our veterans, you figure the freedoms we have in our country, they worked for them, they fought for them, and they didn't always get thanked for them, but, so we thank you for helping them. We have a motion by Cruz, second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous.
Terry, you didn't give us any retirement plans.
Not much.
probably about 14 years ago, roughly.
Yeah, probably.
You better get to the microphone.
I'm going to call you back up, Terry.
Hey, Grace, tell you.
Yeah, get the mic right here.
So,
Speak right into the microphone so we can hear.
you got to move back just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Angela. I'm the Veteran Service Officer taking over for Terry. And we had a discussion. We wish we had worked together longer because we've taught each other new things in the last few weeks. So that was great. But this is a special thing. And on behalf of Quilts of Honor, the Board of Supervisors, and the veterans of Amador County, I present to you this quilt for your sacrifice and service to our country and to the veterans in Amador County.
Thank you.
You have to open it up,
Oh, looky there.
and you have to open it completely. Quilts of Honor is based out of Calaveras County. They create these quilts for all veterans who request, and I requested for Terry.
Hey, that's nice. Look at that. Hold that side.
You want to turn it? Sec.
She's leaving. Nice.
Flip it that way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now we're talking. That is pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Keep holding that just a little longer. I think Gracie's gonna like sleeping on that.
I think it has Gracie's name on it.
Okay, got it, got you. You know, Terry just wasn't the veteran service officer. He was real active in the community, too. He was in Ione Rotary for a long time and the past president of the club. Did a great job, too.
Well, thank you. Any other members of the public?
You have a good retirement.
All right, we're gonna go off into the sunset now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Thanks, Angela.
Next up, we have item 3B. This is the Amador Senior Center. It's a presentation by Mr. Chris Calton, Executive Director, with an update on Meals on Wheels.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning, Chairman Arnetto. Good morning, Board. Good to see you all here today. My name is Chris Calton. I serve as Executive Director of Amador Senior Center, and I'm here to, on behalf of our organization, thank you again for your continued support of Meals on Wheels. You help to support older adults who are isolated socially, who are homebound, and who are at high risk of malnutrition, and are low income as well in the priority of our program. So we provide a daily hot meal, just to remind you, every single day, delivered 5 days a week to older adults within Amador County. And I'm here to sort of share with you the success of last fiscal year and your investment of grant funds for us. And we were able to deliver last fiscal year, 23-24, 34,140 meals, which was a new record for us in Amador. The year before, it was around 28,000. So your investment has helped us to increase services to older adults, which is really important in this category. Also, we were able to utilize 884 volunteer hours, which is really important to the program. It allows us to keep costs down, as well as to expand services to people in the community. So all of us together, coming together, makes this possible. And again, very grateful for your support. I want to highlight a new program the Senior Center offers. As I've shared with you before, Meals on Wheels is quote unquote more than a meal. We have shared with you in the past that we have a pet program that helps to support older adults and their pets by providing pet food and pet supplies so that older adults aren't sacrificing their own nutritional needs for the needs of their pets. Also, pets serve as a social connection for older adults. It gives them a sense of purpose and well-being. And as you saw today with Terry, everybody loves pets and they talk to their pets and they relate with their pets, and it helps them to feel less isolated. Another program we have is a senior peer visitor program in which volunteers take the next step to a deeper level of social connection for older adults, so that it's not simply a driver connection or a staff member providing an assessment, but it could be a weekly visit, it could be in person or on the phone. And so our senior peer visitor program is complementary of Meals on Wheels to help those people feel less isolated. And just this year, starting September 1st, we just launched a brand new transportation program. As many of you are aware, Common Ground Senior Services unfortunately closed its doors, leaving this as a gap in services for older adults. The Senior Center has taken on this program to provide non-emergency medical transportation for older adults to get them to and from medical appointments or the pharmacy or whatever medical related issue they might have. The qualifications are that they don't have access to any public transportation, they're low income, those are the target groups for this program. Obviously, the Meals on Wheels clients are main targets for the transportation program. So this is something we've been able to add into our program services, which is really important for those that are isolated and dependent upon our services. And we're really excited to be able to announce this and to have grant money come in for it. Of course, we're not asking the board for any support further than what you've done, but I just want to make you aware of what we do wrapped around the meal, because people can quite often think that all we offer is a meal. It's much, much more than that. And then finally, I wanted to point out that the participants and clients that we serve are asked to contribute $5 per meal as sort of their cost sharing in this, but no participant or client is refused service for their inability to pay. We will take that on financially and help to make that happen for any client that is really impoverished and unable to support themselves in that. But the client contributions that do come help us to further the program and keep it running. As you're well aware, and I've been reporting for the last couple of years, we're facing unprecedented costs, not only in labor, but fuel, if you look at the price on the corner gas station, and in food as well. So the major areas of increasing inflation are our core areas of resourcing when it comes to our client needs. So that's all to say, from the bottom of our hearts, we're just so grateful for the county's investment in this program to help us meet those head-on costs and continue to serve clients. So briefly, that wraps up my presentation. I just wanted to find out if you had any questions as I request a release of funds for this year in supporting the program continually.
I see every time you come in, you're expanding programs and providing more services, so that's very appreciated. And you should be listed as Dr. Chris Calton, though, with your education. On the when people come in, let's say they can't afford the $5 and all I have is $2, and that's, you'll just take the $2 and cover the rest?
We do, and we try to isolate our clients' giving from our staffing. Obviously, if they write a check, we have a name, but we attempt to, as much as possible, limit how many staff know who give and who don't contribute. And we will continue to serve clients no matter what they're able to give. If they can give $1 per meal, we're very grateful for that.
And you haven't started serving any new areas, have you, with the meals?
The meals program, since we launched it 3 years ago in full scale, has always been countywide. So we don't have a limit of services.
We had some areas that weren't covered robustly.
Well, you started your
River
Plymouth.
Pines and Ione, but now you've gone into those areas and doing a great job.
Ione is actually our second largest route behind Pine Grove. Pine Grove is exploding currently, but it's not a surprise that the largest concentration of older adults in Amador County is located in Pine Grove. We did, in the prior fiscal year, have 3 clients in River Pines. All of them have dropped off the program for one reason or another. And the attrition rate on this program is pretty high when you think about folks aging out, either through unfortunately passing away, or their needs change and they move into assisted living, or they just move closer to children or loved ones who provide care for them. So we have a pretty high attrition rate as far as the graduation of clients and then the onboarding of new clients. So it changes all the time. But to answer your question broadly, we provide support in every area of Amador County. So if anyone listening is interested in the Meals on Wheels program, they live in River Pines or Plymouth area or any of the outlying areas, we do deliver.
Thank you.
But you're starting something new in Plymouth, aren't you? Not,
We are unrelated to the Meals on Wheels program. We have congregate dining programs
Congregate
throughout the county as well. And those programs are designed to invite older adults to come to a location for lunch who are capable of travel, are capable of transportation, to provide that social connection as well as the nutritional components, which are the same as the Meals on Wheels program, but is confined to a location. We have 4 locations throughout the county, and now we're going to be adding Plymouth, basically through our own financing. There isn't any grant money for that, but we're committed to bringing these services in a localized fashion to the county. So we do continue to expand, and thank you Supervisor Brown for pointing that out. That will be launching in October.
You know, also, you said that Pine Grove is exploding. Is it more outreach, or is this the cost of living, or what do you think the reason is?
I think the reason is most services, whether it's a business or it's a nonprofit, it's word of mouth. And our presence in Pine Grove has been pretty committed, and Rotary of Jackson, under Supervisor Crew's presidency with that organization, helped us to launch that. So we'll give Supervisor Crew all the credit for what's happening in Pine Grove, but Jackson Rotary helped us to launch that site by providing delivery drivers until we could be up and going. And when I say exploding, I don't mean in population numbers, obviously. I just mean in client demand.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Sure.
I was just curious kind of why. Okay, well, thank you.
I think word of mouth, marketing hasn't been particularly targeted to that area, but as we've seen in launching this program in 2020 in response to the pandemic, a majority of client interest has come through word of mouth and through our county supervisors representing what we're doing and sharing in the community what we do, which is, somebody left their cell phone. Anyhow, that's not mine.
That's a fine.
That's not my phone. But I think it's making sure that people in the community are aware. So it's a lot of public representation. We don't want to commit dollars, particularly from the county or grant money, toward marketing. We want to use that money to run the program. So word of mouth, and that's why I think our reputation is so important to me, and the quality with which we do things, because that's more important than anything you could say in a newspaper ad.
Didn't you just get married this year, too?
I did.
All right, that was like in July?
July 12th, that's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Chris, coming out of COVID, have the meals at the center come back to pre-COVID?
That's a great question. They've not only come back pre-COVID, the demand on the center has been higher for all services.
Even with all the outreach meals now?
Yes, particularly around the congregate programs, as older adults on fixed incomes are facing higher inflationary costs. They are integrating the center as part of their budget cutting measures, so to speak. A lot of people are coming to lunch and using that as a way to keep their grocery bill down.
especially on Rib Day.
On Rib Day, everybody's doing budget cutting, I guess, that day because it's pretty popular.
Well,
Have
that
it
being
in your
said,
newsletter.
how are you handling the new additional expenses on the transportation program? Primarily fuel, I guess, and the vehicle.
Right. That's a great question. So obviously, the Area 12 Agency on Aging provides some grant funds toward this. We have also secured grant funds from Amador Senior Foundation, and we have received grant funds from Huberty Family Trust through Amador Community Foundation. And Amador Community Foundation has also graciously offered us a grant through I think it's the American League of Foundations. I think did I get that right?
Good.
Okay. So American League of Foundations offered us a grant through Amador Community Foundation for $5,000. So that's how we've made the vehicle purchase, and we're covering all the expenses to make that happen. As well as client contributions are accepted for any ride or transports.
This is maybe off the wall, but I was down at UC Davis. I was thinking of the drivers now that are helping these people. It says non-medical appointments, but they're compromised. Is there a certain amount of training for what are you going to do if they have a seizure in the back seat, or on these new picking up people and taking them to their transport.
Right, it's non-emergency medical, so somebody can't be in some state of emergency for us to pick them up. Right. All of our drivers go through CPR training. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, just basic,
As well as basic first aid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all our Meals on Wheels drivers are trained in that as well, depending upon what they might roll up on at a particular client's home. And we've had those issues. We have to do training around falls and that sort of thing, that drivers aren't to be helping people up. And we have come upon that with clients in their homes who have fallen. And when we arrive, we will help the client to get up on their own or to make some arrangement by calling 911 or having some first responders come and help that person up.
Okay. Thanks.
It's a great question. Any other questions?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to release their 2024-2025 budget allocation.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it. but-
Okay, we have a second. Any members of the public like to comment on this issue?
No.
Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. I see Mr. Geedy was in favor of it, so. All right, so thank you, Mr. Geedy.
Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Calton.
Great job.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the continued funding. We really do appreciate it.
You're doing a good job over there, so thank you.
Appreciate it.
And next up, we have item 3C. This is Behavioral Health Housing Update, Prop 1, and the bond for the Behavioral Health Capital Improvement Program and No Place Like Home Program.
Good morning.
Morning.
Melissa Cranfield, Behavioral Health Director, and I have Melissa Ausilio, who is our new programs coordinator. So I think it's been a little bit of time since we've been here to give an update on housing, and usually it's to talk about No Place Like Home. We're gonna share an update on that as well, but there's a couple other housing things that I just wanted to just make sure that you're aware of, even though I think you probably already are, but just if there's any discussion or questions that you have, just kind of an update of where we're at. I think Chris from Danco is on the line to give the update for No Place Like Home.
Yes, good morning. Chris Start, Danco Communities. Our update on the project is we continue to apply to the state for the tax credits, which is the remaining financing needed to complete the financing package for the project. The competitive nature of the tax credits has increased since we started this project, and primarily that's due to an influx of funds being brought into the system from the federal disaster relief from the fires that had happened throughout the state, which is causing more projects that have those funds in their capital stack to move ahead. We continue to put up a competitive score, but it hasn't been enough to win as of yet. We're continuing and committed to this project and continuing to invest in this project. But it does look as if we're going to have to apply for the next round in 2025, or we are not being awarded in this round of 2024. The state has new funds coming in, and there's been indicators that the state is looking for ways to clear all of their stalled supportive housing projects throughout the state, which this is one of. So if those funds from the were coming into the system, they're late in the year, we are optimistic that they're going to allocate some of those funds towards projects that are in the same situation and clear the deck, if you will, and move those projects ahead. But as of now, that hasn't happened yet, but there is indicators that there's movement in that direction, and we will continue to apply for the financing in the upcoming rounds for this project. As I mentioned, we are committed to it. We're continuing to invest in it and just holding steady to win the competition so we can move it ahead.
The governor has been accusing the counties and cities of not doing their part in all of this. Since we've been having this Danco on the books for a long time, is that going to hurt us, or how is that going to affect us with the governor and, accusing counties and cities from not doing their part?
I mean, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say, clearly you're doing your part. The issue has nothing to do with the county. The issue has to do with the limited amount of resources for these projects to move ahead. And there's all kinds of contradictions. There's funds that go into the system, and we have to compete for the limited pool in which this project applies in the rural pool for the tax credits. And so this really isn't an Amador County issue. This is a state issue. And this project, along with many, many others throughout the state and rural areas, many we have ourselves, haven't been able to move ahead because of the limited resources for tax credits that are out there. No fault to anyone other than that. So that's my take on that.
And I was just going to say that there have been other delays along the way, the water, the sewer, those kind of things, but I think we have the documentation to support that, regardless if that's, if the governor would still say we weren't doing our job. We do have that documentation that shows our due diligence of working to move forward with this project, and then now we're stalled with the rest of the funding.
Chris, is there 2 rounds of funding each year? Do I remember that from previous conversations? Like early in the year and then late summer?
Yes, that's correct.
So you got 2 shots at it in next year's.
Yeah, we got 2 shots, but used to call SB1 funding that's coming through. There has been indicators that they're going. There was a program 3 years ago called the Accelerator Program that HCD launched, which was born to move stalled projects ahead that had already applied for tax credits and weren't able to win those tax credits. So there has been indicators that they're going to launch that program again for supportive housing projects in the state as a priority. And if that happens, then we may not even be in the tax credit competition. We might go straight to construction using those funds backfilled in lieu of tax credits. That's what we're thinking is going to happen based on the communications that have come out from the governor's office and the state agencies. But those regulations and those conversations are currently underway to launch those, and they said that they would have those rules and regulations in place if passes in the first quarter of 2025. So if that happens, then this project and other supportive housing stalled projects could be able to just utilize that fund in lieu of tax credits and move ahead. We're optimistic about.
That accelerator fund, was that the one where if you had a complete application, you got points for years that you were in the rounds? They stab your
Exactly.
third year, you got a couple extra points and that kind of thing?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, thank you.
So where are we exactly on the spectrum timeline of shovel-ready? Are we 50%? Are we, because of the water and sewer have been resolved, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So where are we on the timeline?
Yeah, the project's ready. We're shovel-ready as any project is. We have all of our entitlements. We have the water sewer resolved. All we need is a building permit, that's what's considered shovel ready. As soon as we get and we've been in communication with city manager, city of Cedar Creek, and everything's good there. There's nothing holding us up with this funding. As soon as they issue the an indicator of an award, we will go straight to building permits and move the project ahead.
Good. So we should rate very high. Should.
Well, thank you. Is there any members of the public like to comment on this issue at this time?
Did you have more, Melissa?
Yeah, that's it for No Place Like Home, but I had a couple other things that I just
Okay.
wanted to let you know. Thanks, Chris. One of the other fundings that we have received for housing is the Behavioral Health Bridge Housing, the BB or BHBH. This was something that we received that we would utilize part of it for auxiliary funding, which is for those clients that need a higher level of care. And because we don't have those type of facilities in our county, those are usually facilities that are out of county. Currently, the clients that are utilizing those funds are ours that are conserved clients due to their mental health conditions. The other piece of that funding was for interim housing. We put that out to RFP in June. The process closed in July, and we did not get any responses from that. So we've been working with our TA liaison to try to figure out, what are some options that we can do. Other counties are utilizing that interim housing with local motels. That's one of the things that I was told that Calaveras is doing. So we're looking into that. Is that an option? Part of this funding is supposed to be for this interim housing is the priority for care court participants. So when we start care court at the end of the year, and if someone in care court needs housing, we should be able to have a bed for them. Our hope was that somebody would respond to the RFP that had beds available, that we could fund those beds for those clients for the interim and transition until they can get more permanent housing. But unfortunately, we didn't get any responses on that. But we are going to continue to work with our TA liaison to get other ideas, what our other counties are doing through our local continuum of care, through the COC, what are options. I did have a kind of a brainstorming session with ATCA about housing. We talked about rental assistance, maybe utilizing that money for rental assistance, but a big issue is just the limited number of rentals or affordable rentals in the county. So we're still working on that. We have $93,000 per fiscal year up and through June of 2027 for this. So, and as far as I know, they haven't said that if you can't spend it per year, that they're gonna make us, send it back. So hopefully, if we can get something in place, we can just roll those funds over to be able to utilize them, so we don't miss out on that.
Are we already utilizing some motels for the homeless population, unhoused, or whatever you want to call them?
I think social services does, yeah.
So you're kind of competing with them for,
And part of that is, I had talked with Ann Watts, the Director of Social Services, and we're gonna be scheduling a meeting to start having some discussions about what housing programs they have, because they have a housing program manager, and what programs do they have, and kind of what are they doing, and how could we maybe partner and be able to, instead of competing for rooms or beds, to be able, how do we work together? So that's another option as well. Yeah. Okay. And the third thing that I wanted to bring up, and that was an attachment with the agenda, was the bond BHCIP Round 1 RFA. And this is part of Prop 1 that was to add facilities and beds to help provide services and supports. This first round of funding is very specific to certain facilities, as well as some requirements in order to be quote-unquote launch ready. So you either have to have site control, a business plan, you have to be ready, ready to build or renovate a facility, and it's very specific, the types of facilities. Our first thought of this is, well, could we use this to leverage No Place Like Home? We need those funds. but it's so specific to treatment facilities, not permanent supportive housing. So it's a very different. They did say that they'll be coming out with a round 2 that's supposed to be more focused on housing. So hopefully that's something, and I believe early 2025, that's supposed to be released. So we'll be keeping our eyes out for that, because if that's something that we could apply for, this just doesn't seem like we wouldn't necessarily qualify because we don't have a project or plan or site control for any of these types of facilities. And all of the facilities listed here would include a lot of staffing, and we all know of workforce shortages and staffing issues just to do what we're doing now, and to expand into a treatment facility is just not within our capacity at this point.
CMSP has some money for facilities, to build facilities. I know Mr. Eiley's not a big fan of that because of the requirements. One requirement is, I think, they have to be in place for like 30 years. Looking out that far is pretty difficult. I don't think anybody has a crystal ball really to know what's going to happen. And once you do it, though, you're tied to it.
You know, and actually, that Proposition 1 is not even passed yet, is it really? So, I mean, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
No, Prop 1 did pass, yeah, it was from last
Okay.
time. Yeah, that's the one that's changing the Mental Health Services Act, and then it
Oh, that
combined
one.
2 things.
All right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the bond plus the change
You were
of
in that one a while
Mental
back.
Health Services Act, yeah. Yeah, and so the goal of the administration and the governor is to add all these beds and all these facilities, so then we can do all the other required things that,
With what, 30% less?
yeah.
I can't remember which one, but there's another proposition this time that's going to extend the tax on the Mental Health Services Act, or the 1% to millionaires. But I know the governor wasn't even real supportive for that because he doesn't like to have that restriction on the funding that's built into that proposition, which I kind of agree with him on that.
So I just wanted you all to be aware of this round 1 funding in case there were questions about, well, you know, why isn't the county applying for this? And we have looked at it and just doesn't seem feasible at this point. We did share it with, because you can also, nonprofits can apply, tribal entities can apply. So we did share it with the tribal partners as well as the hospital, I believe.
The hospital, yes.
What is the office-based opioid treatment? Do you know? It's one of the programs they have on the list there.
I'm not sure, but I can look into that.
It's something that we have a pretty big problem with in this county.
Yes.
It's like no Zoomers, any members of the public? Seeing none. No more questions from the board to say, so, well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Before you leave, how are you liking your job? Everything good?
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, no, everything's going very well. It's a lot to learn, but I feel ready and feel very at home. So
What about your
thank you
boss?
for asking.
You like your boss?
No, I do. She's very supportive and has been in this space very, very long. So I feel lucky.
All right.
Yeah, very grateful. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Moving on, item 3D, this is Measure Q, discussion of possible action relative to the formation of a Citizens Oversight Committee. One citizen from each supervisory district pursuant to the guidelines of voter information pamphlet relative to Measure Q.
I'll lead if you want. I was writing an article, Supervisor Axe and I worked together. He put together a bunch of information, and he wrote one for the upcountry area, and I wrote one for the paper. But in writing that, I thought the board did not approve a Citizens Oversight Committee. I don't think we did. but I think the committee put together, I was talking to Mr. Toma about what the chamber information was out there, and then he told me that, which I wasn't aware of, and then I talked to Mr. Gilat that in the argument of favor of Measure Q, it says a Citizens Oversight Committee will be formed. So I think to be consistent, we need to do that. I've spoke to Chairman Onetto about it. He felt the same way, I believe. But Citizens Oversight Committee will just be a committee to review the projects that are being done and make sure there's fiscal oversight and accountability. Board of Supervisors will actually be making the decisions on the projects that are approved. So I hope that is a
yeah.
good summary of it.
It is, and I guess one thing we probably should flush out a little bit is what would be the Citizens Oversight Committee be doing? What would be their role?
And I think that's what I think they're going to do is meet with county staff and supervisors, review the information based on the projects when they're being completed or under construction. Just review them step by step. I don't want to get too detailed, but enough detail so they can say there is fiscal accountability and it is being done correctly.
Yeah, I could see that, and maybe also, like, maybe looking at things when they're being proposed and saying, hey, this seems reasonable. And then once projects are done, I would think the committee would look at them and say, yeah, it meets the intent of the voters, and the money was spent correctly.
And it's another set of eyes looking at it, and they can ask the question, why are you doing this? That doesn't seem frugal on your part or appropriate in this project. If they can catch something like that where we can produce a better project from the county for the public, I think that's what everybody wants.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Another set of eyes, I think, is probably the most important thing, non-biased. They can review things as they come up, and a simple thing is to make sure that we're allocating as best we can projects in all 5 districts. Sometimes we get snowballing at ACTC, we just get working on one and kind of lose focus of the rest of them, where they'd have a little more jaundiced view of what's going on. So it'd be nice to hear that, hey, fellas.
I just think the citizens that are appointed to this, one from each district, as I think it's laid out, need to know that they're not making the decisions, but they are there for oversight or review.
Right,
Yeah, basically,
to help the supervisors.
Would it be the same supervisors that are on the Public Works Committee?
no, this would be five individuals.
No, 5 individuals, but the supervisors that are assisting them, per se, would that be, because you don't want the committee just.
would think
Because
so.
you'd have to have somebody
Yeah,
keeping the meeting flowing and stuff like that, which,
I think it'd be a good idea, and to stay focused.
because you'd want the Public Works?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming a couple supervisors as,
I think that'd be a good idea, because one thing, when I was on the Water Agency Board, we did a stakeholder group for building the pipeline. Well, that stakeholder group somewhat went rogue, and that about doubled the price of the pipeline. I don't want that to happen with any of these projects if they come back with suggestions. Even though the stakeholder group was just an advisory group, they basically were hijacked.
Yeah, but I would think you'd have 5 citizens as part of that committee, and then you
Right.
maybe they could work with a couple supervisors, just their
and that's
concerns.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. But again, I would think you'd want the 2 supervisors that are on the
Yeah.
Public Works Committee themselves, so you can keep that flow going, so you don't have 2 supervisors kind of,
No, I'd agree.
Or you want the 2 on ACTC. You're coming out of the planning.
Well, you guys can decide
Public
that.
Works.
Okay, Greg, this might be I don't think has to be on the ballot, but if we start this new committee, shouldn't we have at least 2 on 2-year terms and 3 on 4-year terms, so they don't all turn over 4 years from now? Even though it's only an advisory committee?
It's up to the board. I mean, you may have vacancies throughout their tenure that you'll be replacing new members or,
Or
so if you want to stagger their.
do when you're elected.
Okay.
Whatever the supervisor's terms are.
Okay.
Yep, like the planning commissioner.
Right.
Yeah,
So we just have, if you found someone, have them apply, they can do that online, right? Get them,
Yeah, there's a list of committees that people can apply for online. Well, there will be when this is set up.
so we don't need to worry about it till after the election, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I get Measure Q passed first.
Yeah, and get the cart before the horse, yeah.
I had Mr. Toma help me a lot when I spoke to him. I don't know if you want to say anything, Matt, but shoot, you came here, you might as well.
Make me feel like Frank Halverson, never met a microphone I didn't like. No, thank you, guys. Yeah, Matt Toma, President of the Chamber of Commerce. Want to thank all you guys first for coming to us and using the chamber to try to get this word out. I think that's probably a good role that the chamber can take. What we found on our board, our executive board and our board is it's probably a good slice of Amador County. We've got some board members that are adamantly against it just because it's a tax and don't trust government. And you got other board members that are thinking, hey, this is a good thing. It's a good way. Some of our feelings are, a lot of our feelings, my personal is, if you're going to vote for a tax, this is probably a really good example of how a tax should be. It's got a sunset clause on it. It's got some citizens oversight. And it's pretty specific on what what the money can be spent for. And like you're saying, if this does get passed and the citizens don't like the way the money's getting spent, it goes away. If they do like it, then they can vote for it again. But yeah, it was discussed early on in our committee about the citizens oversight, and I'm glad Supervisor Forrester, you brought this up, and yeah, probably a good way to get this done, make sure it's done properly. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, and I believe this might be your Veteran Services officer's phone that's sitting here, I think.
I'll send him a text message.
Any members of the public like to comment on this issue? No Zoomers, Jennifer, looks like? Looks like we need action as far as approving the formation of a committee,
Well, it's.
which
I think.
I guess
I think that's what Supervisor Forrester wanted to.
As far as
put
maybe
this in
after
concrete,
the
that
measure.
There is going to be a committee.
Well, I think you should,
Take the action.
probably should take the action today, so it's
Okay.
consistent with what's in the.
I would move that the Board of Supervisors approve formation of a Citizens Oversight Committee so that if Measure Q passes, there's proper oversight and accountability.
Second.
Under discussion, do we need to, what the formation is? Or do we do that later on?
Well, it's going to be one person from each
I
supervisorial
should
district.
state that. One.
Yeah, one person for each district, but and two supervisors and, Public Works? Do we need to get that exact?
Do we need that?
Well, I mean, usually the oversight committee is, I mean, usually it's them, and the citizens are, whatever they're tasked to do, to review, they review it and issue a report or a statement or whatever. I don't, unless you want to, it's usually not, you usually don't put supervisors on a citizens oversight committee.
It can be done, though.
Yeah, the Fire Protection Authority has one supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So if you want to specify the membership, you probably should do that now. And if you want to be as clear as you can about what the board wants, what they'll do and what they won't do.
I think one supervisor is enough. I just want to have a supervisor there to hear the discussion and make sure that they're not going off on tangents.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things, I just like to make sure that we're keeping things guided along and properly done, you know, because a lot of times, if somebody's not used to the agenda of how it's run.
Yeah, and I think basically, the way I view the committee too is, we're not directing that committee, we're there to help them. And if they want information or something like that, we can maybe direct, hey, here's where you can find that. I'd see us being a facilitator, almost more than anything. And I think I'd go for two. So hey, if one supervisor's not there for a meeting or whatever, you still got another one.
Well, you could have a primary and an alternate, or you
Yeah,
can have
something like
two.
that.
You know, so we have options.
I like the primary alternate. I think the Public Works Director or his staff would be the facilitators of the meeting. I think supervisor would be more or less a fly on the wall unless they see something going awry.
Yeah, because really, it's a citizens oversight committee, so I don't see a board member or members controlling it. It should be the basic people. And if they want to go off on a tangent to a certain degree, hey, that's their prerogative. And I think the board would try to, I would hope, would pick capable people to, sure, I would hope so.
So the facilitator would be Public Works.
Probably, yeah. And I mean, I'm a board member too, but it'd be a combination.
Okay.
So in the motion, then, I would include that direction would be to have one primary supervisor to attend the meeting and with an alternate.
Second, it's okay with the second.
You're a second, Pat?
Yeah.
Also have a motion by Forrester and a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries 4-0-1. Moving down, we have the minutes, and I had a.
Move to approve with modifications as you gave to our board clerk.
Okay. And were you a second, Supervisor Brown?
Second?
Motion by Forrester and a second by Supervisor Brown with modifications. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It carries 4-0-1. And at this time, the board will come back for a public hearing at 10:30, and we'll be talking about planning department and the X zoning or the removal of X zoning and parcels. Thank you. Call this meeting back to order. And we have a public hearing scheduled for 10:30. It's item 4A. This is the Planning Department, consideration of Planning Commission's recommendation to approve zone change ZC-246-3. The zone change affects 185 parcels in Supervisor District 2, which are currently zoned X Special Use District, which is inconsistent with the land use designations adopted with the 2016 General Plan Land Use Element Update. The Commission's recommendation is to rezone the affected parcels to R1A, Single Family Residential and Agricultural District. Ms. Shepherd?
Good morning, Nicole Shepherd
Morning.
with the Planning Department. The County of Amador is initiating zone changes for properties which have a zoning district classification that is inconsistent with the land use designation adopted with the 2016 General Plan Land Use Element Update. The parcels affected by this request are currently zoned X Special Use, and this change aligns with the county's general plan and aims to ensure consistency and compliance with state and local regulations. This change includes 185 parcels to be rezoned from the X Special Use District to the R1A Single Family Residential and Agricultural Zoning District. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, the lead agency intends to consider a notice of exemption pursuant to Section 15183A of the state CEQA guidelines for projects that are consistent with the development density of existing zoning community plan or general plan policies for which an environmental impact report was certified, and to Section 15061B3, the common sense exemption. The Planning Commission, following a public hearing on September 10th, recommended approval of the CEQA exemptions and the zone change to the Board of Supervisors, with the exclusion of 7 parcels per the request of those property owners. And after the publication of today's agenda, we did receive an additional comment letter from a property owner requesting that their 2 parcels were also excluded from the zone change.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Where the additional parcel, 2 parcels, where are they, in the Comanche area or someplace?
Yes, they're at the kind of far western end of the county, west of Comanche Village.
Okay.
Now, would that be like the Tracy parcels?
Yes, correct, that's the comment.
Okay. Well, at this time, I think no questions from the board, no Zoomers. We'll open the public hearing. Is there any members of the public like to comment on this issue? Please come forward if you would, state your name for the record and sign in. Not that we don't know you, Roger, just we gotta have it for the record.
We make everybody do it.
My name is Roger Lameau, and I live at 5370 Reservation Road at the corner of Coal Mine and Reservation. And I was not aware that my parcel was involved in the planning letter that I received, and I just overlooked it. Then when I got the second letter from the board, then I started looking at it again, and I pulled out my tax papers, and I see that I was included. So anyway, I'm opposed to any change out there. I don't know what it would do to me. My wife has a beauty shop there that she's had, and it was put in legally, all the codes and everything, in 1985. And I don't know if this zoning change would change what we can do there, but, you know, my concern is I'm not into that zoning change.
Why don't we have Ms. Shepherd answer it, but I think you'd be grandfathered in.
No change for you.
Hey, why don't you guys switch places?
What you trying to
I would
do,
have to too, Roger.
That is correct. All existing, both legal and non-conforming uses would be grandfathered in with the new zoning.
And what happens if they ever sell the place? Could somebody else pick up
Yes.
the business and operate it?
Yes, all non-conforming uses, as long as they don't cease for a period greater than 2 years, can continue.
Okay, and then there was one other thing. I was approached by a solar company here a couple of years ago, and I've got a piece of ground that I'm not using it for anything, and they expressed interest in putting some type of solar in there. So I don't know what, when I read this letter and the solar end of it, I don't know if that would affect it. They're talking about putting in somewhere between a half acre and an acre. That's some program. I didn't get that deep into it, but they sent me paperwork, and it's kind of like a mini contract to look over. So I don't know, when you read this, it talks about different energy uses. Would solar fall into that range?
I believe she already answered that for somebody else, so.
Yes, so solar farming and solar production for a commercial use to be sold back to the grid would be an allowed use with a conditional use permit, both in the X zoning and the R1A proposed zoning.
I think too, would you say it'd be fair to say in the R1A, you have uses that are permitted under that zoning?
Correct.
And then you have other uses, you have enumerated uses you can do with a use permit, but no other uses besides those that are listed. Whereas X zoning, if you get a use permit, you can do whatever you get the use permit for if it's allowed.
Correct. The R1A zoning district has more by right uses that don't require that conditional use permit.
But it has less uses overall.
Correct.
So R1A, it gives you some uses by right and some others with a use permit. But then there's some uses that you can do in X that you can't do at all in R1A. There's probably not many, but, so the X zoning is probably a little more widespread, but less by right.
All right. That's what I got to say. I don't, I guess it wouldn't affect me in any manner. I had some other X-zone property before, and I looked into quite a bit of it, what you could do, and I know that it's pretty broad what they let you do as long as you've got water and sewer to them, so. But I don't plan on.
And get a use permit, you know.
Yeah. That's my piece.
Thanks, Roger.
So where do you want to be then?
What?
Where do you want to end up? We're not quite sure.
Well, okay, as long as it's not gonna affect my lifestyle or my wife's lifestyle, I don't have an objection to it. I mean, I don't.
Okay, to go on, out of the X zoning you're probably what, R1A?
That's what I would be, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure you're okay with that.
I know that there's neighbors down there that it's gonna affect, and I'm not against them having it. And I mean, if I have it, I guess I'd stay with them on the deal if it meant breaking the whole deal.
No, you can do whatever you want.
I know.
We just want to figure out what you want.
Yeah, well, I just don't want to see my life get disturbed by a zoning change, so.
No, I think they said it
I don't think it will. Too
It
far
wouldn't.
down the road for that.
Some people, I can see where it might affect them, but this could actually, you might actually have a benefit by going to R1A. I mean, a lot of people figure I'm going to lose some rights, but you're not losing a whole bunch of rights.
You think the R1A would be better?
I think you'd be better.
Got
Because
more
you're-
by right uses.
Well, I'll go along with it then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But, thank you.
Any other members of the public?
What'd you bring, your bodyguard today?
The other ones are out in the car. My name is Rich Curran. I live at 2880 Curran Road. And I'm kind of like Roger, except I have signed a contract with a solar farm company from anywhere from 10 to 30 acres with them, like 5 months ago. And from what I understand, I guess, is that pre-existing now, then? Because I had talked to her, and they came up with number 10 down here, oil and gas well drilling, mining, excavation of natural minerals. And he seemed to think it would fall under that, planning director?
Yes.
This is just me, but if I had signed a contract, I would think that's pre-existing. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Well,
doing.
they don't have an entitlement to do, I mean, you would need a use permit as X. If you don't have a use permit, you don't have an entitlement, even if you signed so whoever you signed the contract with,
Yeah.
presumably they would have to apply to the county, get a use permit to put in the solar. It's the same whether it's X or R1A.
And they could still do it.
They can still do it.
'Cause I thought when I looked on the internet in California, they didn't consider solar farm as agriculture.
Well, you can't do it by right. You'll need a use permit. But you need a use permit under X.
So,
Either zoning, you need a use permit.
so it isn't going to affect me, this zoning
No,
change.
it should not.
It may benefit in the long run. So I guess I'm,
And she gave you the right answers too, right?
so,
I think you're okay.
okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other members of the public? No Zoomers?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Durgis.
Okay, do you need video or, hang on a second,
No,
I can get my video.
Now, who's that on?
Eric Durgis.
So, no video, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm a ranch manager for Big Horse Ranch representing Ray Stacy. He's at 3200 Comanche Road. I just kind of came into this about a week ago. Just curious. He's had, he's had different businesses with cattle and selling veal and all that in the past, and he doesn't want to lose the ability when he sells the property. He's got 3-phase power, and it's just set up basically for agricultural, and he doesn't want to lose any of the benefits that he has there under X. And so I just wanted to make sure how that's going to work.
Well, as far as we know, R1A agricultural is by right.
Correct. All existing, both permitted and non-conforming uses that are existing in X would continue into the new
But
one.
agricultural is by right.
Correct. It is also that.
In R1A, that's by right, we can't say anything about.
Well, some of them, yeah. There's some that are not though in the list. I think that was page 36. It looks like where was it? The processing, packing, selling, shipping of agricultural products not done on an on-site retail basis.
But that would have to have a use permit either way.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
So,
Doesn't really.
but as far as any normal agricultural,
You'd be by right.
but is by right.
If you want to do retail sales, it says, use permit would be needed.
Right.
I was going to ask a question, but this could bring up where you should have recused yourself because your brothers are involved here, but.
No, I talked to Greg about it, and they're not.
Okay, good. Then
Those
under
parcels
the
were
question-
removed. Those parcels are out of the proposal that the board's considering today.
Okay, good. I got a question for you. On the letter from Mr. Rux Oneto, he said, why were we included in the first place? Because it really doesn't make sense for their parcels right there to be included. It was just the way the maps were done when the general plan was put together, or what?
Yes, so their existing zoning is zoned X, and as well as the existing general plan designation is most likely agricultural general or ag transition out there, which is conforming with the R1A zoning district.
And the overall goal was just to get rid of all the X zoning?
Yes, that is part
Okay.
of,
Thank you.
yeah.
It's because the general plan doesn't authorize an X zoning. So the general plan says, in this general plan designation, you get these zone districts. And if you look through all the general plan designations, there's no X allowed. So we're taking the X and putting it into the most consistent one that's allowed. And maybe we need to look at the
Thank you.
other property.
Any more Zoomers?
Not at this time.
Yeah, Supervisor Forster, was way back to the general plan. But it was by a state guy came up, and X is like miscellaneous expense. Auditors hate to see that. You can, if you can take it out of miscellaneous expense and put it anywhere where it's defined, so they can look at it, then they're fine with it. It's just that X bothers them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Move to
Any
close.
other members of the public?
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
A motion to close the public hearing by Supervisor Forster, second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Public hearing is closed. Looking for some action.
All right, I'll give it a try. Let's see. I would move that the board approve the adequacy of the CEQA categorical exemption as the first action.
Is that your motion?
That's the first motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Forster, second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
I have a
Carries
question.
unanimous.
Question before the second action. Those two additional parcels, do they have to be listed by their number, by their parcel number, or is it, are you aware of it enough so we don't need them included in the motion? Besides the 7 that were already considered by the Planning Commission, now we have 2 additional. So do we need to note their parcel number?
You're excluding parcels?
I guess there were
3C?
2 more.
3C?
I have record of both those parcel numbers as well as the comment letter. So if it's not required to be in the motion, I'm fine with leaving it out.
What is it?
Just make it clear that the board
Okay.
is excluding those 2 parcels.
You want the
Additional.
parcel numbers or?
The additional 2, well, you're acting on the planning commission's recommendation, so those 7, I assume, are not before the board anyway. So you're just taking out the 2. The 7 aren't presented before you, because the planning commission took those out. So
Okay.
what's before the board is everything that the planning commission approved, and you're taking 2 more out.
Okay.
You know the acreage on those Teresi parcels?
I do not.
I think they're pretty large, aren't they? Anyway, I talked to Matt Teresi and I put him in touch with, did he ever talk to you?
I don't believe so, no.
He might have talked to Chuck. I gave him Chuck's information. Okay, on the second motion, I would move that the board approve the requested zone change with the inclusion of the 2 parcels that came in from Teresi. And you have those APN numbers.
Correct.
And with that motion, I would include the recommended findings.
With the exclusion, not inclusion.
Yeah, I was going to ask on that, yeah.
You said inclusion, but I think you meant exclusion.
Exclude, that I would include, all I meant was that we include the request from Mr. Teresi to exclude those 2 parcels. Okay, I'll make it specific. And that would be with the recommended findings.
I'd second that.
Motion by
Is that a-
Forster.
Did I miss the CEQA?
No, I just said that with the recommended
Okay.
findings. That's,
That was.
oh, we did CEQA first, in the first motion.
Okay, that's what I missed.
So we have a motion by Forster, second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Well, thank you, Ms. Shepherd. And at this time, we are adjourned until Tuesday, October 8th, 2024, at 9 o'clock. Thank you.